Thank you, Table and Topic Master, welcome members, and esteemed guests. Thank you for coming tonight. I really love being in the water, especially if it's warm, it's clear, and if it's in a tropical country, I'm really happy about that. There is a saying that anything worth having, you've got to work for it. I had a really nice experience a couple of weeks ago of going abalone diving for the first time in Mendocino. And I soon found out it's not about just showing up on the day to go abalone diving. There's a whole long process to doing that event. So a couple of months ago, I decided that I was going to do some practice dives in a warm swimming pool that's about 6 feet deep. So I got my snorkel and mask and fins and was just doing some practice things back from my snorkeling days where you put your legs together and do a nice pike dive down to the bottom, holding your breath as long as you can, and then coming back up and just going back and forth, and I was like, oh, that's easy, I can do that. So getting closer to the event, then we need to think about renting me a wetsuit. So I get a 7mm wetsuit. It's a full wetsuit with a hood, gloves, booties, weight belt, and I have some of the other equipment along with me. And then we are driving up to Mendocino and we're staying for the weekend. We need to get a California fishing license and that AB sticker to make sure that you're legal when you're taking the AB. And so it's a nice clear day on the way up to Mendocino. I'm thinking, great, this is going to be perfect weather. But the next morning we wake up quite early. We open up the curtains and it's foggy, it's really misty, and it's cool. So I said, so what does that do for our ab diving? And I get the answer, it is what it is. Because you see, every year about this time, the Aqua Gear Dive Club gets together, and there's actually people coming from all over the world to do this annual ab feed. So we go down to the beach, we inflate the dinghy, it's a Zodiac, put on the motor, we're getting all of our gear together, and part of the gear that we need to each take personally is a ditty bag. So this is what you would be putting in. Each person has one of these, and this is what you put your abalone in, if you get one. And then you also have some other very useful tools. You have what's called a go, no-go bar, and an abalone, point to point, needs to fit in here or exceed this before you can harvest it and put it in your bag. The other thing that you need, absolutely essential in abalone diving, is a ab iron. Now this ab iron, now imagine you're down under and with all of your strength, you are prying this abalone that is really hard stuck to the reef to get the abalone off of the reef. So we have all this, get it in the dinghy, we power up the motor, and we start trolling out to our secret spot. So the other thing that we come across as we're meandering through all of this seaweed and kelp. There's this particular kelp that I'm very, very intrigued by. It's called a bull kelp. And it's kind of extraterrestrial, if you will. I'm sure George Lucas got inspiration of doing Star Wars by studying the Pacific coast. But it's kind of like an onion that just sort of bobs on the water. But then it has this tendril that you can't even see the bottom of it. It's like 10 or 15 feet long. But anyway, there's all of this that we're going through. It's just like a forest of this kelp, and it even cuts out the motor a few times. But anyway, we're going, and as I look back towards the beach, which is completely socked in by fog, you can't even see the beach, but it's actually kind of mysterious, seductive, if you will, when we're going out there. So we get to the spot, drop down the anchor, and then we're now in full wetsuit, and I put on my mask, I put on my snorkel, and I've got you know, like a millimeter of skin that's exposed. Everything else is covered by neoprene. And I slip into the water. And I think I'm going to have a heart attack. I am in shock. My body's in shock. Now, the object of having a wetsuit is to sandwich your body skin and the neoprene, that when this ice cold 50-degree water goes into every nook and cranny of my body, it's supposed to warm up. And I'm telling you, it's not warming up fast enough for me. It's like, oh my God. So the next step is putting my face in the water. And I, again, have just very little surface area that can get exposed without being covered with neoprene. And I put my face in the water, whew, another shot goes through my body, and it's like, oh my God, this is just way too cold. But I thought, okay, go back to the pool. It was just be calm, just take a nice, easy breath, relax, and go down. Again, I'm used to tropical water, and this is kind of murky. We've got currents throwing you from one side to the next, and I try to go down. And I'm trying to clear my ears, to get the pressure off, and I'm diving only maybe 5 or 6 more feet than I was in the pool. That was warm, but this is now a very different condition. And I, truthfully, am starting to have a little bit of an anxiety attack. That I can't even see the abalone. I'm not seeing anything. I'm getting a little nervous. I'm getting cold. I'm getting exhausted from the current, and so I'm popping up and down, popping up and down. And at a certain point, I just said, you know what? I just physically can't do it, and I go back into the boat. So in the end, I find that I'm very lucky, one, that I'm with a bunch of experienced divers, because I was very grateful to be able to bring back a beautiful memento of the abalone dive. But the nicest memory I have is the succulent, beautiful meat that the abalone gave to us from the deep sea. And even chefs have even called it lobster or scallop, and if it's properly prepared, it could be as smooth as a veal steak. So it's very, very succulent and delectable. But I also learned that abalone diving is a very fun sport, but it can also be quite dangerous without some proper training. So next year, I vow to myself, I will go back and I will try it again. I think I'm going to do practice dives in the real environment instead of the swimming pool. That will probably give me better results. But I think I will also remember that one of the best parts of diving is really enjoying the experience, and it really isn't all about the catch.